Hey guys, welcome back to Comfy Cozy Up. We're day 2, so we're gonna finish up November. I need to finish up November, so we're gonna talk about books that I read in November, and I believe I have 7 physical, and I read 3 on my Kindle. Kindle still for the win, but I got some book in. So this November, my whole goal was to read. Wasn't to read this much book, but the writing situation I didn't do what I was supposed to do. But we'll talk about that in another video. But for right now, let's just get into the books. Now let's start with the classics. Now I had subscriber picks. That was a classic. I also had some books left over from October, from Victober, that I didn't finish, and I wanted to get some more classics because I feel like I fell off this year on my classic, and I did not read as much as I always read. Don't know why, but we'll figure it out as the month goes and what my assessment is about the books that I chose to read this year. So let's start with the November pick, which November pick? No, October pick. So October pick was The Secret Agent. This is Joseph Conrad. I never read anything from this man, never heard of him. Should I have heard of him? Absolutely. Why? Because this is considered the first true thriller. Is it a thriller? Yes. Is it a classic that tends to start off a little slow? Absolutely. I thought this book was interesting. At first, I was like, well, where are we getting that? Because of the certain things that are said in the story. It has a political undertone to it, as well as relationship things. There's a lot of betrayal in this as well, sense of responsibility, and a lot of twists and turn. Who you think you knew but you really didn't know, that kind of deal, which is what you want in a thriller. However, the beginning did start off a little slow, and I struggled in the beginning to really get into the storyline, but halfway through it got real good. It got interested. I enjoy the main character in this. Well, technically it's multiple, but I enjoy the wife saga that's panned out in this. And what this is a story about, what I read for the background is the author got inspired by a conspiracy of a bombing situation, and it's the who did it, why, let's catch the person kind of storyline that he took from that and created this story. But he made it more twist because it adds some family history in there, some marital issues in this, that kind of thing that you want, especially when you think of classics from that era, from the 1800s. They have, if you don't talk about relationship in there, it's just not gonna work. And that's what they did in this, and that's what made this work. I would love to watch an adaptation of this that is good. So if you have read The Secret Agent, and if you know of an adaptation of this that I'm going to enjoy, because I want to see this in a movie form, because I felt there were certain elements of this that went over my head a little, where I was just like, what? But I mean, it makes sense to the end, but a part of me was a little confused at one particular element, and I would love to see a movie adaptation of this. So then we have the November subscriber pick, which is Ring Shout, and let me tell you, I don't know why somebody would think I was gonna really love this. I didn't love it. Didn't hate it. It's like a 3-star books for me, but I just with the climate we in, I was not for it in terms of how to look at it. Yes, they're monsters. Yeah, we're not gonna say who they are, but just know the cover. They're monsters, and in this they're portrayed as their actual monster. And I was intrigued in the beginning, but it was just like, as it went on, it was just like, ugh, I don't really enjoy books like this. And then, but however, I was not aware of the original movie A Birth of a Nation. I just know the one from 2016. But I didn't know about the original one. And I went down the rabbit hole of looking it up, and I'm just like, oh. I didn't watch the whole thing, but it was enough for me to be like, wow, that was in a movie theater with ill intention. Yeah. Interesting. So I did learn a lot of things I didn't know. There's certain things that's added to the book that is actual real things that was put in the storyline as reference to things. I thought that was interesting as well. So for the most part, I think it's not a bad book. It's just me, the storyline just didn't grab me. But I learned some stuff. All right, back to the classics. So we read the Conjure Woman and Other Conjure Tales, and this is Charles W. Chestnut, and this is considered one of the first books written by African American. He's also passing, and I think that's why he never really got credit compared to like the other two books that I've talked about on this channel before that are considered the male and female first. But he will never deny his grandparents, his great grandparents. He's not doing it. So he's passing, but he's not going to be doing no passing. That's how this author feels in his real life, and I enjoy knowing that not everybody that looks like him chose a path that would have been easy. The love of the family kept them going. So in this, you follow in a couple that the woman is having some kind of illness, and it's believed if she moved out and moved into this another area, preferably somewhere in the south, she will have the illness might get better. So while they're there, this is a short story collection, but it's an interlocking short story collection. All the characters are there, but there's this one old Julius, this black man that was in that town before the Civil War. So this is after Civil War, so there's a lot of injustice still going on, but there's also a lot of things that are still falling over from what happened previously. So he's telling stories. So every time this couple and the husband wants to do something, old Julius is coming up with a tale of why he should or shouldn't do something. It was entertaining. There were some sad moments, of course, because of the time period. But there's some stuff that, old man Julius was not playing about. So I enjoyed this. This was an interesting short story collection. And one thing I would say is I like that I find a story written in that period that is really a story, because I find that a lot of the early books from classics from black people weren't really fiction per se, and you can tell they labeled it as fiction, but a lot of it I felt was like their true story of maybe family member or whatever. This felt like, okay, there really is a fiction going on here. Then we have Elizabeth Gaskell. Now I loved Elizabeth Gaskell, but Lord knows, this is a story that I felt I'm a bit surprised a woman wrote this. I find that it toys with a society of women who are very old-fashioned, but they're single, they're spinsters, especially two of the sisters and people who are surrounded with them. And the story is told in an observation way, like another character not in the story, but not there, kind of like observing what's going on in this particular town. And what I thought was interesting is like there's this idea of women being by themselves, taking care of themselves, dealing with their own battles and their own issues amongst themselves. But this like story also add in the whole idea of you still need a companion. I kind of was like, what? And I guess let's be fair, it's true. being single and by yourself and doing everything by yourself also has those moments where you wish you had a companion, somebody who you connect with, that love. And so I guess in essence she wasn't wrong, but I just kind of felt it was kind of weird for that time period. And in this you have you know, characters who things are happening to them, tragedy are happening to them, and they're thinking about the what ifs, and then you know there's like these little obstacle that comes in the way and they're trying to figure out who did what kind of situation. But again, it has that element in it. Now this one for sure has a series. I don't know what they're gonna do with the series, because I don't think this book is long enough to really have a series, but there's a series, so I might actually pick watch a series and see what the interpretation of people that did the series for this book is, because honestly it's really just like, oh yeah, we need, yeah, let's connect with our lost love, let's connect with our lost family. We really can't be living like this. If I'm wrong, let me know in the comment. All right, so then we get to the nonfiction. I talked about this. Absolutely amazing. I think it is more than just what we see in the media. There's elements of different things discussed in this book. This is the message by Ta-Nehisi quote, and I love that he is talking about things that we think of but not say out loud. And there are going to be people who are not maybe agree with the message, but I think there are elements of it when you are part of the oppressed and looking from the outside and seeing another group oppressed. There's certain things that you will connect to that situation that you might not have done that if you've never experienced and know what it is like to be oppressed. I also like his experience teaching, his experience in a different part of Africa that he's visited, and his experience being an African American and being on the continent of Africa and what it represents in people's mind of how they see us on the other side. I thought this was interesting, well done. I got it from the library, my first library book in where I live now, but it won't be the last. I just have to figure out how to make it work. But I want to own this, so I might actually purchase my own copy. Then we have We're Alone, and this is Edwidge Dadicat, and she's also another author that did an amazing job on this book. She is of Haitian, she's from Haiti, and I love that she talks about her culture a lot as she move on to different part of the world where she lives and teaches and writes and get inspiration and connect the past and the present kind of in a way that I feel like even with that book is that message of holding on to something. There's that idea where she writes We're Alone, and I don't think that's necessarily how she, I don't even want to say, but I think if you read it, you get why she will label it this way. I love her experience with authors that she looks up to and inspired her, and how she talks about it. There's just so much about this book that's just beautifully written, and it's also really make you stop and think. And I love when I read nonfiction and I get this kind of feeling. I think sometimes nonfiction can be a very daunting kind of book to read, where it can drain you or not give you anything, or just becomes more of a spewing of the worst, that kind of deal. And I feel like in these two there are moments of this where I feel like you will think about things in a way that is meaningful and not so much of a shock value, and I love nonfiction like that. Alright, then I did read one of the books that was sent to me. This is The Parents' Marriage, and I'm not going to butcher. Now this is a Nigerian. I've read this, wow. Are they Nigerian or Ghanaian? Ghanaian. Sorry guys. So I had this I read in the beginning of November. I know the story very well, but just that little detail got me. So this story follows a young woman, and here goes your parents, they're married. But when you find out the history of the marriage of your parents, the fact that your father is not a good person, and how he was ended up with multiple wives, comes with a lot of negative things. And because you see that, there's that idea you want to run away. You want to get away, and you subject yourself to a marriage to run away, and that marriage becomes an identity that you were trying to escape. That is ultimately what you get in this story. And so in this story, you follow in this couple, and this young woman now is with a man who has come from a different side of poverty. You know, she comes from where her father has this business, and they're doing well. The mother also has some form of money as well, so she doesn't know what it's like not to have. And she married a man who knows what not to that he doesn't have anything, and seeing this, so there's a bit of what he expects, and what there's a bit of what she also expects, and how it come together, it clashes. Now they're in school and they're studying abroad. They come to America, and these idea of what is like in America and what she has to subject herself to, what he subjected her to that she didn't know. There's a lot of not communicating going on, and this is what she didn't see, and what she also ended up having in her marriage. So this is really why it's called My Parents' Marriage, because the parents' marriage also influenced her own marriage, and how did she navigate through that. What I did like about this story more so than books that I've read like this, because there's a lot of things about this book that wasn't really original, but there's moments in the end that I liked, because there's a sense of responsibility. There's a sense of, okay, the damage is done, how do we move on, and how do we communicate, and what can we change to avoid some of the issues that they were having in their marriage. I liked that part in the end. I liked how it was done. I think oftentimes, because even my personality, I would have been like, bye, what? We're not doing that. And the fact that the author kind of took it in a way of having, you took an oath, you decided to get married, let's see how we can navigate through this after the mess. So kudos to her. Yeah, kudos to her. So I liked it. The Lord, the drama, the immigration stuff in this, of people selling you what they think their life is like abroad, and you in another country thinking they're living it up and they're not. Yeah. All right, so that's a physical. Let's talk about some ebook. Now, I read I got into some more Christina C. Jones. Christina C. Jones, she pulled me back in. Now, I read Behind the Scene, and this is a book that I felt like it was cute. I thought it was very much contemporary for her, and I find that me and her contemporary are just okay. I'm not the like jumping up my skin for her contemporary, but I did enjoy this. I did enjoy the fact that this was a writer, director kind of dude, and he has a past, you know, he has substance abuse issue, and you know, he's getting his life together, back to doing it, and you know, met someone who is kind of job is to navigate his new project, and they connect in a way, and how they were able to do that. And you find that you think about those people in that kind of industry who fell off the wagon, and or who are trying not to fall off the wagon, and how do they do that when they are surrounded with people who are predators, pretty much. So I like this part of the story, and I thought it was interesting. I like the danger. I like her bad boy. I like I'm just, that's me. So last month I read one of her novella series, The Vegas Night, and the last book is Maybe One More Time. I think that's in the last book title, and I remember how much I loved that book. I love the book so much. I actually had my friend read it. My friend was like, what the hell did you make me read? But she loved it so much that she's like, oh, we need to continue this. When it ended in a way where I'm like, where's the rest of the book? Because it's no way. Now, I love me a novella and a short story, but it needs to be a short story where I'm like, I'm content with how it ends. I was absolutely not. I loved it, but at the same time, I'm like, oh no. So she had 2 full length. The first one is Not Afraid. I'm Not Afraid. I'm gonna put it here because I forgot I had written down in my journal. I don't have it near me, but I put a picture here. And this of course follows Tati and the main character, the male character in this. Anyway, so this is a spin-off from that story where you have Blue and Roz, forgot the name. I'm really bad on names. But anyway, this Blue in this Tati is like his not blood sister, but they grew up where their fathers were very close, so they grew up like brothers and sisters. So this is a spin-off where what was bothering him in that story spin over to this story. The only problem I had when I read the original story in October, Tati was not playing aggressive, and how they explained this particular main character, the guy in this, was scary. It was scary. It was dread tattooed up, don't look at him in the eye. He's that kind of character. So when I started reading this book, and it did start with some triggering things, just keep that in mind, there is a trigger warning in the beginning of this book. I was like, I wanted to say, Christina, who them characters? Because I don't recall them being this settled. They were settled. Matter of fact, the cover, I'm looking at the characters on the cover of this, and I'm like, that's not who we were introduced to. So I was just like already thinking, this is just not it. Like, why am I reading this book of these characters and it is coming off very too nice for my liking? I needed them to be a more aggressive. Tati came off very aggressive in the novella. And that dude, the way, there was a part in that novella where the main character, when she passed him, she felt like she shouldn't even be looking at the man's face because that's how he came off. The man was beating up like 5 people in this biker club. Again, but I said, Christina, she knows what she's doing. Maybe it's the reason why she toned them down. Maybe she toned them down so us readers can get to know them and like them as a character. That's what that was all hoping. Now she did that, but it took a while because it just still come off like, Tati, this is not my Tati. This is not my Tatiana. It is not. I just felt like she was not the same character. I don't know if she had time period between when she wrote the story, but anyway, it follows them, and there's like this life that they came from. So they are children of parents who were once brainwashed. Pretty much that's the gist of it. They were brainwashed, they were believed, and they were controlled. So they were like assassins. They were like, you know, put the music on and they will do whatever. But the male character in this, he was in it very young. So there's a lot of scars that's happening, and there's a lot of things that he wanted. So he was on a mission, and in the story you don't know what mission he was on, or even if he was really on a mission. That's where the gist of it is. Now what she did in the first one is she left it on a cliffhanger. I was like, I can't stand cliffhangers. But the good thing is the second book was already out. So I immediately downloaded it on my Kindle and I started with the second one. The second one was very over the top. Over the top. I was like, what? It was like, we're doing this, we're doing that. No, that's not happening. This is going to happen. And it was just like, it was just so much. And I was like, I don't know about this one either. So overall, I was here for the mess, but it didn't need to be 2 books. And I also felt like she changed the characters, and she didn't keep them true to how they came off in the novella. And I didn't like none of the covers because this is just not the characters I envisioned at all. The edge wasn't there. He just looked too sweet. So with that said, I would give it a 3.5. I would give it a 3.5. I do feel like because I wanted to know what the storyline was going to be, because I was so hungry for it, it's like you're going to want to read them. You're going to want to read it all the way to the end to see how they're going to navigate through all this crazy mess that's happening. But I also didn't feel like it was that great. I thought it needed a little bit more work, but it also didn't need to be too serious. It did not need to be too book at all. But we're going to end it here. And there are going to be some more books, a lot of Christmas books, a lot more upscale, you know, happy-go-lucky kind of storyline that I will talk about. But I do hope some of these books have some bad boy, because I love bad boys. I love my dominant alpha male, you know, dangerous but sexy. That's the kind of characters I love in these romance books these days. It changes every so often, but right now, give me the bad boys. So I am going to end this here. And yeah, and I will see you tomorrow. Let me know what was your favorite book. You know, the jar. The jar, you know, there's still a lot of books left in the jar, but you know, I can always add more. What is your favorite book that you read in November? And yeah, and if you read any of these, let me know, especially if you read The Secret Agent. How did you feel about it? I mean, if you read it in school, I felt bad for you, because I just think I wouldn't have enjoyed this in school. I wouldn't have. So I hope that's not when you read it. But let me know, and I will see you in the next one. All right, guys. Bye.